Those of you who have been following my channel regularly would have been watching my clock restoration series. There's one more episode to go, but we cannot forget our weekly unboxing, getting something out of the emergency storage shed. We're up to episode 58. Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. We've got to keep going in that shed or it's never going to be useful, so all these other projects have to fit in around it. I've also been doing a little bit of tidying in the shed. This is Christine's gardening section. We need to declutter around here because as I'm unboxing stuff, I am keeping some of it and I need somewhere for it to go. So piles are getting higher around me. I'm in danger of having avalanches. I need to tidy up some of this shed in general as we're bringing stuff out of that shed. Let's go and see what we can get today. We've actually been doing a bit of gardening around at Mum's new house. She hasn't moved over here yet, but we did have to reorganise all our gardening stuff. So now we've got it all set up, all our various watering system pieces. So it's good to get that part organised. One little part in the shed, neat. So let's go around into the emergency storage shed and we've got to work out what we're going to get today. I think we might continue just working on that middle section. I do want to switch over shortly and get stuff off the top up here because that will free up another shelf for me to just help me get organised by having boxes of things that I'm waiting to find another part and that sort of stuff. So I'm not going to refill this shed as we go like what I've done with this shelf here. I need to keep various bits and pieces until I've finished certain deals, and some of the stuff, you know, drill bits and whatnot, I need to sort out, and I'll just wait until I finish going through all the boxes before we do that. Let's tackle the stuff right in front of us. There's an old grapes box there. It looks like there's a couple of old school battery chargers. Not sure what's underneath them. Maybe some tools of some sort. We'll try and do that box. There's a crate underneath with a little bit of hardware. I can see some old caster wheels in there. So we'll get those. We'll certainly get the top one off. If we get through it quickly, we'll get the bottom one as well. Now, if you're new here, we've got a lot of boxes to go through, many of which I don't know what's in. We'll be valuing, we'll be scrapping, we'll be fixing, we'll be sorting out scrap metal. And if you've just joined my channel, the recent videos have been a clock restoration. I also do a bit of electronics work, so I'd like to think I give you a lot of variety. And variety is certainly what these boxes seem to contain. They just about all seem to be a random mixture of stuff. So we have a 6 12-volt battery charger there, 8 amp. Hopefully it's a goer because these sell quite well. A lot of people like the older style battery chargers rather than the modern smart ones. And I did a video on the smart battery chargers once to show you how to trick them to get them to work. But there's limitations with them. For example, electrolysis cleaning, you really need an old school charger. So that one looks in okay condition, very dirty, but we'll test that one out. And the other one here has a broken gauge. 6 or 12 volt battery charger, alternator generator check. So fairly complicated gauge there, but it's got a piece broken to the side of it. It's much lighter than the other one, so it probably hasn't got a big transformer in it. Oh, okay. It's got some sort of testing probe on it. I don't know if that one will be quite so useful. We might end up scrapping that one. And the rest of this looks like basically some hardware. We have some tools. There's a pry bar or a pinch bar, or I knew them as a jemmy bar. That one's very rusty but still quite okay. So that's a saleable piece. We have some door hardware. We have a hacksaw here. It's a Repco hacksaw, but it's got one of those round wire, abrasive wires on it, which are really handy. If you've ever used one of those, they're really good for enlarging holes in tiles and all sorts of things like that. Very abrasive, so I might hang on to that one. I don't think I've got one in my shed. The rest of it's general door hardware by the looks of it. Some old brass doorknobs. We have an early porcelain doorknob. We have some electrical switches here, the really old brass covered ones with the porcelain base. Obviously that switch is no good though. That one is the other way, I can't move it. So I wonder if we can fix those up because they will sell quite well. So just old door locks, which do sell quite well. There's a large, probably a brass wing nut. This is a little bilge pump. 12 volts. So I guess that's for just taking water out of the bottom of a boat or something. I guess we can check that, see if it works. And the rest of it's really just door hardware. There's the keys, maybe they suit one of these locks. And that one's an electric fence strainer or tensioner. It's got the insulator here for you to put your wire from one way, your wire goes the other way. You would somehow be able to wind it up. I don't know if it has a handle to wind it, a crank handle of some sort. Yes, it looks like it would do. I don't think that's here. But still, I would imagine at a rural supply place or hardware store, you'd probably pay a fair bit for one of those. We might get 5 for it. I'll check that out. A random little drill bit. It looks like it's been sharpened very poorly. Probably just scrap metal, that one. And the rest of them are just door locks. So we'll clean them up. We'll see what we can sell them for. That looks like a Vaughan. Can't quite read the tag. Maybe it's not. I'll have to clean it up. So we can certainly sell that lock with the suitable set of brass knobs for probably about $20 or so. We'll clean it up and make sure it works. We don't have a key for it, but a lot of people don't worry about that. They just use it as the door latch. You can certainly find keys. They're easy enough to make. If you've got a key, you can often modify them to suit. They're not actually that hard to make up to suit individual locks. So we'll get a bit of value out of these. This looks like a much older one. It's got a nice brass plaque on it again. Same sort of setup. Very rough though. It's obviously been stored in the shed for a long time. Could be a Carpenter. And that's a more modern deadlock assembly. I wonder if those new keys suit that. Because they're quite expensive to buy, these things. No, the key doesn't go the right way. And I can't see any other keys in here. That's a shame. Hasn't got a brand on it. Yes, if we had keys for that, we'd get a fair bit for that one, but alas, I don't think we do. And another kind of lock, not quite as old, probably more a 40s and 50s era one. These ones would be early 1900s, maybe even late 1800s. This one's a bit more recent, but again, it's a nice old, I think they call them a rim lock. So, all right, we've got through those. Let's get the rest of this stuff out of the box here. I think we can drop this box in the bin. We can't really do much with the old polystyrene, and it's broken down quite dirty. So we'll get rid of that. We'll clean up the locks and we'll come back to you shortly. Just cleaning up these items now in warm soapy water. I sometimes do them in a laundry trough, but it's just as easy to fill a basin out here and give them a bit of a scrub up. So I don't go to too much trouble, but I just find that getting the loose rust off them just gives them a nicer patina, and it makes them cleaner to handle in the shop. If someone picks up a dirty old pry bar or any sort of tool from the shop and they get, you know, dirty rusty fingers, or there might be a bit of oil in one section, it's not so good for customers in the shop to find that. But I find that just a little quick scrub with some steel wool, or in this case a scourer, and it still leaves it rusty, but it's smooth to touch, it's clean, and it just makes such a big difference to being able to sell something. I mean, sure, a lot of guys take whatever they purchase back home and probably buff it up and make it a lot cleaner. Some people even paint their things, but I'm just looking for a quick way to make the tools a bit more presentable in the shop. And you know, it's a bit easier to, say, get $10 for a pinch bar rather than someone looking at it more as if it's a piece of scrap metal. So I don't go to too much trouble, but that's all I'm going to do here. With the locks, basically all I'm looking to do is just clean the dust off them and any bad rusty spots. I think that'll do with that one. But, you know, again, to the average person, that's a lump of scrap metal. And at least I think if we give it a bit of a clean up, we've still got the old paint on it. And half the time that's most of the appeal. And again, if someone buys it for a house restoration, they may well strip it right back and repaint it. But as far as presentation goes, I like the old paint. We can also give a little bit of a work on the brass plaques and little accessories, and it makes it more readable. People can see what brand it is. It gives it a little bit more of a nice character, I think. So I'll just take the paint out of that little brass medallion there, and now I can see that it's a Union brand, and I can't read the fine print. That's my fault. My glasses aren't strong enough. But if you have a look at that, see, it looks much more presentable now. A bit cleaner. I'll get a little bit more of that rusty stuff off, but just, you know, for the sake of a minute, we make something much more presentable. Now, I'm not going to pull it apart at all. I'll have to leave it drip dry. I might hit it with a hairdryer or put it out in the sun just to make sure that it doesn't end up with water sitting in it for any length of time to rust out the internals. But I think we could add some doorknobs to this one and easily get $20 for it now. It looks a lot different from a piece of scrap metal. Exactly the same with these old ones. They don't look like they've got any of the original paint on them, but you never quite know. It's been lying around for a long time. And it actually looks like it still has the original paint with a really nice crazed look to it. So that again will value add. Yeah, so the original paint on this one would have been a black, and now you can see it's had some sort of brown, or maybe, oh geez, I don't know what colour it was. It's a bit lighter than a mission brown, and so it leaves a really nice crazed effect, a lovely antique look, I feel. That one doesn't have a plaque on it. It probably used to be there, or maybe not. I can't see any signs of a plaque being there. So that's probably not as valuable, but if I've got a spare set of brass knobs, we'll still get at least $10, maybe $15 for that one. And I'm pretty sure the actual lock mechanism will still work. It's going to be a bit stiff, but yeah, it works. They're not such a fine precision that they're going to rust up very easily. There's usually a fair bit of slop in the movement. So as for getting a key, well, we could probably do that to all of them, but I don't really have the time. I think I might leave that to the new owner. Let's have a look at this one. And this one's probably the rustiest of the lot, particularly around the back. But it's cleaned up pretty good. It's the original black paint on this one, and the brass is cleaned up quite nicely. And we can see, well, I can see, I'm not sure if you can, it is a H&T Vaughan from Willenhall. So I think that's the UK maker. So that's quite a nice original lock. And again, that should still work, even though it is quite rusty. Yep, works beautifully. And they're not hard to get apart, these. There's usually only a couple of screws on the back. Removing the screw may be a little bit of a problem, but the movements can certainly be done up quite easily inside. They're not overly complicated. So that's a nice original one. We've got one more to go. Okay, this one, the paint job is pretty well all fallen off it. Sometimes you've even find where they've been in a fire, but I think the paint's just decayed so much it's fallen off. The brass plaque cleaned up really nicely here. It's got a coat of arms, and this is a number 60 Carpenter patent. So I don't remember if they were a US company or a UK company. Coat of arms would probably indicate UK. But that's in pretty good condition, really, other than the fact that the paint's had it. I think that would be a good candidate for restoration, and I reckon that's probably off an early, or very early 1900s, most likely a late 1800s lock, a door, I mean. And again, the internals are perfectly fine. So another nice piece. I reckon I'd still probably put $20 on that one. So we're going to get a bit of value out of these locks. Now I'm just going to clean up some of the brass knobs. I'm not going to polish them at all. In fact, I won't scrub very much at all on the knobs because I don't want them to look half polished, just to get them clean and any loose rust off them. And then we can maybe match a few up to some of our lock assemblies. There we go, clean enough, but still all the old patina on it. Okay, I'm going to cut this video a little short. We've just done the locks. We will look at the electrical stuff in the next episode. I should have twigged, that's not a battery charger. It's actually a load test for batteries. That's why it had these big heavy probes on it. So I'm not sure what we're going to do with that, but it's obviously for testing the condition of a battery, because a battery will show you 12 volts even if it has a crook cell when there's no load on it. But this is designed to load up the battery and you can basically tell if it's good or not. It's a shame the front gauge is broken there, but if it works it might still be saleable, so we'll look at that in a future video. I do want to see if I can fix those switches up, so that can come in the next episode as well. As far as the locks go, I'm going to try and get $10 on this. It's all there with the instructions, except we don't have any keys. These are $100 plus to buy new. I saw some online for quite a lot more than that, so I think we should have a chance of getting $10 for that. You can certainly get them rekeyed. And I've revised my prices on some of these locks. Now, I've done a bit of checking online, and they seem to be bringing a lot more than what I remember they used to bring. I'm going to sell these front three. I'm going to keep the back one, and I'll show you why in a minute. I did check out these. You can buy them brand new for $8 to $10, so we might struggle to get 5, but then we'll put 5 on it. Look, I can drop it to 3 if I need to. I'm going for 10 on the Jemmy bar. The unbranded lock, I thought we'd go 30 on that. I thought we'd go 30 on the Union one. It's a UK made lock as well. I think the company was Josiah Parks, I think it was. So probably a 1940s or thereabouts lock. So I've gone 30 on that. I've gone 30 on that. I've gone 30 on the H&T Vaughan lock. They are all UK lock makers. I might keep the brass knobs off that one separately because they're a nice set. But I still will try and get 30 on them. They seem to bring pretty good money. Now, that brings us to the Carpenter lock. Now, I did a bit of checking. I'm going to hang on to it for now, and I might restore it down the track. I think it's worth my while keeping some of these old Carpenter locks together. And I did find in a box, when I was looking for something else, another Carpenter lock that's been smothered in paint, and it's missing its back plate, but it has got parts that may be handy. Now, that one's not as old as this one, but I think I'll keep them because they reproduce these, and even the reproductions are bringing $100 to $200. So the early ones, I saw some huge sales online. So I think they're quite valuable. I think this is worth doing it properly. And when I looked at the mark here, and we'll get a close up on this, see how it says W and R on either side of the coat of arms? I saw a reference to indicate that that dates it to King William IV, which is 1830 to 1837. So it's much older than I first thought, and I think it's worth giving it a bit more love and care here in my workshop one day, rather than just put it in the shop for $50 or $80 or $100 or something. So I'm not going to sell that at this stage. I haven't put it on my list. Here's my list of everything, which is really only half a box full that we're going to sell. Prices as just discussed. Actually, I think I went 40 on the Vaughan lock, but maybe 30 if I'm not including the doorknobs with it. We'll add it up how I've got it. We'll see how we go. So it's 70, 100, $125. Let's say $120 for half a box of stuff for this week's unboxing. And adding about $120 to our total gives us just over $9,500 worth of stuff out of that emergency storage shed. And I'm not going to include this Carpenter lock at all, and we will get back to that sometime in the future. I think it's worthy of hanging on to and giving it a proper restoration. The electrical stuff we'll get to in the next video in this series. Incidentally, those of you that have been around for a while may remember that Briggs & Stratton engine that I dismantled and sold parts on eBay. I sold the flywheel last week, or it was the week before now, and that was the last item. So we sold every single part of that Briggs & Stratton engine. I'll do a few checks and we'll give you a total of what we made back out of that in the next episode. So that's pretty cool, hey. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I've got to rush. I've got lots to do. I'm heading to the farm next week. Got to get another episode ready for next week. No rest for the wicked. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.